Hey moms, welcome to the Gather Moms podcast. My name is Kate.
And I'm Rebecca. We've created this space just for you because we're both moms and we get you.
Yes, we believe there truly ain't no hood like the motherhood, and we need to be in this together. We also believe we can't mom well without Jesus, so you're going to hear us talk about him too.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Gather Moms and make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a single episode.
All right, mamas, let's jump in. Hey moms, welcome back to the Gather Moms podcast. We are so glad to be back with you in this season of Mind Your Motherhood. And last episode, Rebecca, you did such a great job talking about the waiting season, and I have been blown away by the response from women who needed to hear it or were so thankful we shared it. And so anyway, just wanted to say, well done. Thank you. Thanks for leaning in there.
It's the Holy Spirit. Moms, I don't know if y'all know, but, as Kate and I think through episodes and content, we are asking God all the time, speak to us, tell us what you want to say to your daughters. And that was just something that directly came from the Holy Spirit. Seeing the response just affirms that we're listening to the Holy Spirit and that we want to be sharing things with you guys that you need to hear that encourage you.
Yeah. So as we walk through Mind Your Motherhood, we're talking about the seasons that we go through as moms. And, so we start off talking about then the first season is that pregnancy season after the waiting season. But I do feel weird segueing into this today because of all the pain and emotions that are conjured up from the last episode. Like, it feels weird then to talk about pregnancy and share pregnancy stories. But I had to remind myself, like, even as I was preparing for this, that just like we said in the last episode, you share your pregnancy news with your friend. Like, don't keep it from them. And so we have to faithfully follow that advice and, not shy away from talking about pregnancy and
yes
and having babies and
that's
stuff.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Because that's what God does.
That's right.
He puts a little baby in there.
Yeah, if he does. And if he doesn't, he has another plan. That's why I feel like that's what is weird though, Rebecca, is I feel like it's like, oh, it's muddy waters to walk through and not, I feel like I'm hyper aware right now of the sensitivity of the topic. And so just trying to just faithfully take the next step.
Well, and we just call it what it is. This is just, we have to step into that next phase. And so we're going to do it. And here we go.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so I want to talk about pregnancy. I think it's so funny. You and I have been doing this podcast. We started in 2020 around this time of year. And we have not talked much about being pregnant.
Because we're not.
Ma'am, being pregnant, giving birth, and having newborns. Like, we have not, of all the things we've talked about in 122 episodes, this is not something we have stopped down on yet. Isn't that kind of weird? And we have a mom's podcast.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, we just haven't. So I thought it would be fun to talk about, first of all, being pregnant. Did you like being pregnant?
Kind of. I'm not one of those, I love being pregnant women.
Yeah.
And I was very bitter towards them because they're like, I felt the best when I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
I know. I am so happy for you if you have had that experience, but,
But I did not have the terrible sickness that other people had. Yeah. So I feel like I got the middle. I was the middle. I was in the middle road.
Well, and I was on the terrible sickness, but I didn't have hyperemesis, like where you have to get hospitalized. What that is?
I do not. You always use these words.
Ma'am, that's just a real thing.
Hyperemesis?
Okay, it's where people get so sick they cannot stop throwing up.
Nobody knows that word.
Y'all come for her in the comments.
Nobody knows that word.
They do. So I would throw up 7 to 10 times a day, and my doctor would always, I think the marker was if you hadn't kept anything down for 36 hours. And
sounds miserable.
Yeah, But like I would kind of know, okay, well, I kept something down. Like I knew I just didn't want to have to be hospitalized.
Yeah.
You know, but it was, ooh, it was
I don't
pretty
know.
terrible.
Like someone takes care of you and brings you feels and you have an IV and you don't have to get up and go to the bathroom because you have one of those catheters. I mean, that kind of sounds nice.
Yes. But also,
You could watch TV all day.
oh man, but also you're so, if you have to get hospitalized, you're so sick and dehydrated and you feel terrible. Like the nausea is
What did women in the Bible do? Like, what? They didn't have any of that stuff.
No, I don't even know. Because I would not have made it without my anti-nausea. And, you know, I tried everything. I had some, like, it was, like, similar to a vape pen, honestly. It wasn't, but it had some essential oil mix in it. And
on the last episode, you talked about tea tree oil on a wash rag or something. Kate always knows all these little tricks of the trade. Come on.
I had some lollipops. I mean, I tried everything to no avail, really. It was, but those babies would come out, and within 30 minutes or so, I was like, oh.
You felt different?
Yes, like it just releases this like nausea you've been dealing with. So.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So anyway, my pregnancies were tough, but I didn't really get varicose veins. Did you get varicose veins? I know some girls get
People
those.
get what veins? What?
Yes, you know about this.
That's what you get when you're like 80.
No, girl,
not when you're pregnant.
Okay.
We don't have those in the bubble, Kate. We don't.
Oh my gosh, so many girls get them.
What?
Okay.
This is a common thing?
Yes. Stretch marks?
Okay, I know about those.
Did you get stretch marks?
With I think my last.
Okay. Yeah. That wasn't something I had a lot of either. But I did like have back pain and stuff.
Well, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. All the things.
Baby
Sleepless
sitting on that
nights
sciatica.
and
Yeah.
little nerves pinching here and there.
Did you sleep with a body pillow or like a...
No.
Those were popular by the time Caroline came around.
Yeah, I didn't have a baby then, so
And
we just suffered. We
well,
just suffered.
I mean, kind of it was good, but also like when if you're going to roll over, forget it. It is a whole earthquake happening in your bed because you have to like ramp your body up to try and, because you've got this pillow between your legs, up around your shoulder.
Can you imagine like all the new things with mattresses now where they have these king beds and it's like two different mattresses and they go up and down, you know, to like lift your legs or lift your head. Can you imagine if we had that? Because the old school mattresses we had, if anybody moved, you felt it. So,
yeah.
But now a husband could literally sleep through the night without even knowing that his wife was rolling over.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Well, and hilariously, it's like every husband grows to be resentful of those pillows. You know, they're like, get it out of the bed.
Except for the Greg Bradford who sleeps with his own four
That's
pillows.
Right. That's
with
right.
the wall between us at night. So
I love him.
I'm going to buy him one for Christmas and be like, since I never had one of these,
yeah,
I'm going to get you one.
Yeah.
Okay. Early Christmas.
So, but then what I really wanted to camp out on was talking to you about your birth story. And we already had a little conversation pre-recording because you guys, before we go to record, I'll text her and be like, hey, we're going to talk about this. Like, think about it. Like, let your memory trigger, because I know as soon as I sit down and press record, her mind's going to go blank. And she's not going to remember anything about giving birth.
I don't have good memories of my life. I don't know what happens in them.
But sis, like, you don't remember giving birth to Jake?
I remember what I wanted for my birth story, but it didn't happen. So now I'm just like, I don't need to remember the actual one because it didn't work out the way I wanted.
Okay, but you had a vaginal birth.
Yes.
And what is a word that makes you uncomfortable? So uncomfortable. Oh my gosh. Did he come out of your hole, or did they have to cut him out? What do you want me to say?
Oh, that's so funny. It just makes me uncomfortable. Okay, yes, I did. I pushed him out.
Okay, and was it easy?
No, it took a long time. And I think I pushed for like 2 hours. And it was not super fun because you're like sweating and nauseous and everything hurts. And Greg and my mom were in the room, and they're tired, and you're tired.
Did you have an epidural?
An epidural.
Okay.
The nurse is tired. Everybody's tired.
Yeah.
We're like, how are we going to get this baby out?
Did he come? Did you have to get induced?
Yeah, I did have to get induced.
Okay.
And I always, like, this is what I didn't know before I had babies, is that the doctor just comes in at the end.
Oh, right.
I mean, I just thought she was going to be with me the whole time.
Yeah.
No, but it's like right when they see the little head coming out, then they like make the phone call, and here comes the doctor, and they're just there to catch.
Yeah.
Like, I paid you a lot of money.
Oh, right.
I feel like you should be here for the whole experience.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Or where's the tip jar for the nurse? Because she's the one who
she's the one that you want to be best friends with. You're like, will you come to Christmas dinner? Because I feel like we've just been through something traumatic. Yes. But I didn't know that. I didn't know the doctor just came in at the end.
But you had big babies.
I did. But, I mean, now that I think about it, they're not that big. Jake was 7'15". Judd was 8'8".
Okay, Judd was a big baby.
But now I hear people having 10-pound babies. 8'8's nothing compared to a 10-pound baby.
Can you imagine? I'm going to say it. Clench your cheeks. Could you imagine having a V birth with a 10-pound?
No. Those, like, I'm going to ask God when I get to heaven. Like, what was that like, creating that, God? Like, how did you think about making a woman's body contortion in such a way that she could push a 10-pound baby out?
Yeah, no, can't imagine. Mine were all 7-pounders, and that was plenty.
But then you don't know. I mean, you were right there in the midst of it, having an epidural, or even if you don't have an epidural, you're just like, let's get it out. So
but I think I would know if I had a 10-pound baby. That's basically a 3-month-old.
Okay, that would be funny if we could, like, go to a labor and delivery ward and, like, go into every room after the woman has a baby, and before they weigh it, say, what do you think? Did you know that you had a 10-pound baby? And see if the woman actually knew that she had a 10-pound baby.
Ma'am, they tell you that in your doctor's appointments.
They don't know. They're guessing.
They are guessing.
It's like the weatherman.
Yeah.
The weatherman and the sono girl. Y'all are both just guessing it up in here what's going to happen. Nobody knows.
I'm so sorry.
When the 7-pound baby, she said, comes out 10 pounds, they just go, oh, sorry. And when the weather guy says it's going to rain and it doesn't, he just goes, oh, sorry.
I'm so sorry to the sonogram tech who is listening to this, who went to school for this education. It's her livelihood.
Okay, listen, that's a good job, though. If one of my kids wants to be a sono tech, that's a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember vividly my story. I was 25 years old. I was teaching high school. And 2 weeks before Caleb's due date, I was teaching school and I started having pains. And so I went I made an appointment to go see my doctor to get checked. And they were like, no, these are Braxton Hicks. You know, this could go on all the way up until delivery. You know, he's not due for 2 more weeks. And I was like, oh, what a bummer. If I have to endure this for 2 weeks, because it was a lot. But that night I went home and I remember, like, I can see myself with my knees, almost like in, like, if you were like praying on the side of your bed, like bedtime prayers, you know, pictures of people like kneeled down next to their bed with their elbows on the mattress.
Yes.
That's how I was that whole night. I was in so much pain. I was just sitting there, like, rocking or like trying to lay my head down.
Was Jeremy sleeping?
Oh, sure. I'm sure he was 100%. So I was in pain all night and really thinking, this is what we're doing for 2 weeks.
Kate said, I'm about to Google some tea tree oil.
Oh,
come on.
We have got to have a better solution than this. So that morning I went to the bathroom and something happened, but I didn't know what it was. I'm not going to say it, Rebecca.
You've already said the other word. You might as well say it. This is the birth episode.
Anyway, something came out in the toilet, but I didn't know what it really was fully. I'm not going to say. I don't like that term.
Now we're picking terms? Okay, now we're picking terms. It's a medical term.
So I went on to school and I was teaching high school students. And I had everything set up for the sub for 2 weeks from that point. But I did not have everything ready for like 2 weeks early. So I am having pains all day. And I can tell, like, they are getting stronger. Something is definitely happening. And so I'm thinking, I need to go ahead and get ready for this substitute. Meanwhile, I have a classroom full of 16, 17, 18-year-olds who are like, oh, Miss Henderson, what is happening? You know?
If I had been in your class, I would have been like, I'm going to deliver your baby.
One of my students said to me, your cheeks are so full. You look like a squirrel with like a mouthful of acorns.
Things not to say to a woman on the day she gives birth.
For sure, but that's what happens when you have high school students in the classroom. So I'm trying to teach them, but also getting them busy on stuff so I can go make copies for a sub, because my instinct is telling
back in the
me,
day of copy making.
Oh,
now
yeah.
it's on Canva. You would have been like, oh, check the Canva. But you went to the photocopier.
And the downstairs copier was out. So I am trekking it up the stairs to the upstairs.
That was actually helping your labor. You know that,
well,
right?
Okay, so I would go up a few stairs. I would grab the handrail and go 1,000, 1,000. Well, I didn't know I was having contractions.
Nobody is like seeing you in the hallway going, I feel like an older woman in that school, that's a teacher, should have been like, honey.
Okay, so that's exactly what happened. So then I go to lunch in the teacher's lounge, and I'm in there, and I don't feel like eating. And I'm in basically distress, but I don't know who to talk to in there. And this woman comes in, and she's a sub, and she goes, hey, what's going on with you? I didn't really know her. And I said, I don't know. I've been having these pains, but I went yesterday and they said I'm 2 weeks out. And she said, I've had 10 children. I know, right? What? So like, I've met the expert.
Yeah, you have.
She said, you're in labor. And I was like, really? Like, how do you know?
You're excited. You're like, yes. You know more than the doctor does.
Well, because I didn't want to feel like an idiot and go back to the doctor again the next day and say, and them say, go home, ma'am. You have not dilated, and then sticking them fingers up in there again and measuring. Like, I didn't want to have to do all that.
Listen, if she's had 10 kids, I would have been like, can you just deliver it for me? I could save some money if we could just clear this teacher's lounge out and do it right here. You know she knows what she's doing.
For sure. For sure. So that affirmation was what I needed. It really felt like a godsend. So I go back to my classroom and I called one of the teacher's aides and I was like, do you think you could cover my class I made it to 7th period. And there was 8 periods in a day. But my poor class, we laughed about this later on because during 7th period, I'm writing all these notes on the whiteboard for the next day to like line everybody out. So I'm writing all these notes and my kids said they would just hold their breath because I'm writing and I would just stop and count. And I'm not out loud, but I'm 1,000, 2,000, like, and then I could start writing again once the contraction had passed.
They are watching labor in action.
So they are like scared to death that like they're scared that water's going to fall out of me, that a baby's going to fall out. Like, it's not exciting for them. They're terrified.
Listen, and this is back in the day when there was no phone.
So they had cell phones. This was not Rebecca.
Nobody can record you so that we can watch it on YouTube later.
Thankfully, we were not doing iPhones yet. That does date it. Because, yeah.
What they have? Like the little, like you tap the 8 7 times to get to the right letter?
Yes. iPhones were immediately after Caleb. So you're right. Praise God. That's God's
grace. You ain't
grace.
on YouTube, sorry.
Yeah. So the teacher aide comes in and she's a sweet kind of older woman. She's like, oh my gosh, you need to get out of here. Like she's looking at me and I'm like, okay. So I get in my car and drive myself. And
you didn't call Jeremy and say, come get me?
I call him on the way and I'm like, hey, I'm pretty sure I'm in labor. I'm going to go to the doctor to get checked. And he was like, oh, okay. So he comes to meet me there and they check me and they said, you're at a 6. You have to get to the hospital immediately.
So the doctor's office is not in the hospital? Now you got to still drive to the hospital?
Yeah.
My doctor was in the hospital.
I know, but my doctor was in our town and the hospital was, we didn't have a local big hospital. We do now.
So now you got to drive another 45 minutes to get to the hospital?
Yeah, 30.
You could have had that baby on the road.
So Jeremy and I get in the car. We drive to the house. Thankfully, I had a bag. Well, I had to get my bag.
No, you don't.
I did.
The bag can come later.
I didn't know. I'm a new first giving birth mom. We go to the house. We grab the bag. We get in the car. We're driving. Jeremy opens up the video camera like a legitimate.
Now the video comes out. It had one of those. What's the disc called? It's like that little
little VHS.
The little VHS. Yes.
And he pops open the window, and the video is of him driving down the road and videoing me, calling everyone and telling them I'm on my way to the hospital.
He is videoing himself, going, guys, I am taking my wife to the hospital to have a baby. Look at me.
Oh my gosh. So we get there, and thankfully the doctor's office had called ahead and said, she's coming. We get up to the desk, and I wanted to go through the door, and there's a team.
They're ready. They grab you, they put you in the wheelchair, they race you down the hall.
Because that's how the doctor's office made it sound like. They're ready for you.
No. She said, you got to fill out a form.
We go into, because it's a hospital. They're not just birthing babies here. They have other things they're concerned about, which, okay, where is Kate's concierge service?
Oh, listen, y'all listening? Y'all know if Kate opened her own labor and delivery hospital, it would be the bougiest hospital in the world.
Oh.
I would have another baby just so I could go there and have one there.
We would be tracking you. As soon as you pulled up, we're like, we're ready for you, ma'am. We know what drink you want. We know if you want crushed or cubed ice. Like, we have got you figured out. Okay.
Silk sheets. Okay, let's go.
So I go up to the counter, and I'm like, I'm in labor. They called ahead. And I think I was too calm about it, because then she stayed too calm.
Well, yeah, she's like, she looks fine.
And we end up sitting in that lobby for like 10 minutes waiting for...
Do you have a clipboard? Yes. Did they ask for your last period? Yes. Did they want your insurance information?
All of it. And I'm like, how do I explain to them? Like, if I pulled out my pants right now and you see a baby's head, would you move faster? Because now I'm surely at a 7. Like, by this time, it's almost an hour since I was at the doctor's office. And it's pretty intense. It's getting pretty intense.
Listen, you about to miss the epidural.
Okay. So, but by the time labor and delivery gets down there to collect me, then once I get on the floor, then they're moving fast. The anesthesiologist was ready. As soon as I get in the room, he's ready. So, thankfully, because I almost missed it.
Yes.
So he gives me the epidural, and thankfully that started, because I was moving into whatever you call it, that next stage of labor. I'm not going to know. I don't know it.
I don't understand how you know hypertosis.
Hyperemesis, I had a really good friend that had
but
it.
You don't know the next part of labor. It's like you're picking and choosing medical terms now. Now I want to know what it is. What's the next phase of labor? We got a nurse listening. Y'all, tell us.
But there's like active labor, then there's like bloobity blob. Anyway, whatever. Where the baby starts like actively moving down the chute. I won't say the B word. So
can't you just see that little baby swimming?
Yeah, let's go.
Go towards light.
Let's go.
Go towards light.
So the anesthesiologist hooks me up. They get me on the bed, and things slow down a little bit. But then over time, they've got this Pitocin going too. And so then things start revving back up. And, oh man, I'm trying to remember all of the pieces to this. Okay.
Bible women didn't have Pitocin either.
Well, and
when their labor stalled, they just had to.
Ooh. Yes. So the anesthesiologist comes back by to check, and I'm like, I'm feeling things again. And he said, well, that's how we do it. We want you to be able to feel the contractions because it's about time to push. I'm like, rude.
That's the time I don't want to feel.
What in the world? When did y'all decide that we were doing this? I never agreed to this.
In this hospital, this is how we do it. We want you to feel a little bit. Okay. Not in Kate's hospital. You don't got to feel there.
So it's time for me to start pushing, and the nurse is trying to get, this bed had like a part at the end that you had to take off.
Mm-hmm. You put those stirrups up there.
She can't get the thing off, the extension off the bed. So she's shaking the bed. Like, I feel like I'm laying on a paint mixer. Like, it's just like just shaking about, or like a level 10 earthquake. And I look at Jeremy Henderson and I said, help her get that off the bed. Like, because I feel so sick and I'm in so much pain. She gets it off. Anyway, Caleb, he was out within like 10 pushes. It was pretty quick by the time he came out. But let me tell you this. The very first time I pushed, after I pushed, it hurt so bad. I looked at Jeremy and I said, I can't do this. Like, I really thought they're just going to have to cut me open because I don't think I can do this.
Because it hurt so bad?
It hurt so bad. And he looked at the nurse, like his eyes. I don't think I've ever seen his eyes so big. He looked at the nurse and the nurse looked at him. And then she looked at me and she said, you can do this and you have to do it. And the thing is, you're pushing in your face. So I was like, I didn't know.
That's why he had squirrel cheeks.
Oh. So she said, you have to push in your bottom. So once I got it down, then we popped him out.
All these things they don't tell you. There's actually like a trick to the pushing.
Well, because they say it's like taking a bowel movement or something, but then it's like, I'm so scared to death about pooping. Were you scared about?
No, I did not think those thoughts. This is what's supposed to happen now. I am free to do whatever I need to do in this room to get this baby out, and it's okay.
For Jeremy's sake, for the sake of the nurses and the doctors in the room, I did not want fecal matter involved in what we were doing.
Listen, this is why nurses are heroes, because they see things that nobody else in the world sees.
Yes.
You do it, nurse. You are amazing.
So there was like a trainee, whatever they call them. They asked if she could be in the room while I delivered, and I was like, sure, whatever. And after Caleb is born, I'm overwhelmed. They hand him to me, and I just was in such a daze. And I looked at Jeremy and I said, this one's mine. Because I had held all these other people's babies, and it was like, this one's mine. And then I remember looking up across the room, and this little girl is bawling. It's the first birth she'd ever seen, and so she's just like overcome.
Listen, in that moment, she's trying to decide, okay, is this what I want to do with my life? Or was this a little too much?
Yeah, maybe the bawling was not the joy. You were going to help
direct the course of her steps based on your birth story. Y'all, the detail that Kate just told that story in, I have none of that. I am so sorry to tell y'all. I'm so sorry. I don't remember any of that from my children's birth stories.
That's hilarious.
Bless their hearts. They just need to know they were born. That's all I got for you.
Well, and amazingly, like the next two, like Lydia was 3 pushes. Caroline was like 2.5 pushes. Like they came so easily. So like I hated being pregnant, but giving birth, I could do that all day long. Like I got good at it. It's like, here we go.
Not as good as that lady with 10 kids.
No.
She is like really
She's
good.
the queen.
She's really good.
Okay, now did you like being in the hospital? Or
yes,
were you? See, I thought I remembered that about you. You liked being in the hospital. I
want
hated it.
The full time. How much time did insurance give for me to get to be in the hospital? I'm staying all that time.
And you would send your babies away at night, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, because I didn't nurse the first 2. So I'm like, you can go to the nursery. I'm sure there's very nice people down there to love on you.
I love that. I was way too controlling and anxious to have let them take my baby away.
I have no idea what happened to them that first night. I don't know. But they brought them back the next day. And it was great.
That's incredible. I don't think they do that anymore. I think the baby has to room in with the mom.
What?
I really think so.
That's my last break before I have to have this kid for the rest of my life. Let me have it. Okay, but I'd nursed Abby, so then I had to have her.
Yeah.
Or they bring her to you. Like she would go to the nursery, and then when she was ready to eat, they would bring her back.
Oh, okay. No, see, I just kept my
They
babies.
would walk in and flip all the lights on and go, hey, it's time to eat.
Mercy.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the only thing I remember, I mean, y'all, we're going to get done with this podcast episode, and I'm going to remember more. But right now, the only thing I remember is that when I had Judd, just like with Kate, they said, we've got some people here. Can they come and watch the birth? And I said yes. Uh-huh. And I thought they were medical students, and they were high school students that were taking like one of those medical classes. And there were 3 of them.
No.
And they came in and they placed them in such a place where they could see the whole thing go down, which not even the woman giving birth can see what's going down. And I remember looking up going, oh, high schoolers. And Greg and I were in student ministry at that point. So it was kind of like ironic that it's like, oh, hey, y'all could be in our student ministry. And Judd was the biggest baby. So it was pretty exciting probably. So
do you remember anything about how they handled it?
No, I wish I could go back now and be like, so what did you decide to do with your life after experiencing that?
Yeah.
I don't know. If you're out there today
and we're in counseling,
you watched Judd get born, would you reach out to me? I would love to take you to lunch. You probably remember more about that day than I do.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Did you ever touch any of their heads when they were coming out?
No. Nobody even asked if I wanted to.
I did on the second too. It was kind of cool.
I'm about to touch him when you hand him to me.
I know, but I don't know. But I never wanted like to look at a mirror or anything. Like I don't think I would have recovered from that.
No.
And I asked Jeremy to not be below the waist. You know, like
for him not to?
Yeah, I don't want him down there watching, just kind of like out of the side of your eye you can look. But I don't want you like in the direct line of sight. I don't know. I just felt weird about. I didn't want him fully like down there.
Listen, there are so many places I could go with this conversation right now, but I'm not going to do it. I am not going to do it.
Okay, let's move along. So we've had the babies. We've been in the hospital. I cannot wait to get out of the hospital.
I loved it. Bring me food, bring me drinks, change my sheets. I loved it.
Amazing. Yeah, I didn't like them coming in, bopping in at 3 a.m. Get out of here.
That's all right.
Okay.
Take my blood.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're getting pricked, you know?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. And then you get home with the baby. What kind of newborn mom do you think you were? I'm going to give you some categories. I know what I think you were, but I'm going to give you some categories. Were you a read the books mom, a schedule mom, a wing it mom, organic mom, or baby-led mom?
I'm going to go with wing it.
Yes. That's what I would have picked for you. Did you have a plan in place at all?
What are we planning? I mean,
did you know, like, okay, they're supposed to eat every 2 hours or 2.5?
No, it's so funny when women tell me now that doctors are like, you need to wake that baby up to feed it. I'm like, no, you don't. That baby will wake up when it's hungry. Let it sleep.
See, this is a place where like you and I are yin and yang. Or
I did not keep track of wet diapers or dirty diapers. I did not keep track of bottles. What's next? Here we go.
Wow. The freedom of that. So for the first 2, I had paper charts. And if Jeremy was changing a diaper, he was marking it on the chart. Every time I breastfed, I would have like a L 20 minutes, R 15 minutes. And then I would switch him the next time. And we were on a 2.5 hour schedule.
Were we friends then?
We were friends. I think we met when Caleb was like 6 months old.
How do we manage these differences in our
No, because we are very, very different when it comes to this stuff. Yeah.
I don't have a good memory, so I don't remember, but I'm like, oh my gosh.
But that, for me, it is so stressful to think about winging it. Like for me, that is like, that puts me into the fetal position of like, what? You want me to not know when I'm going to be able to sleep, when I'm going to be able to eat, what to expect every day?
Listen, I loved being at home with that baby and just whatever we did, we just did it. But I could sleep when he slept, or we can go take a walk. I love it.
Wow.
Just me and him.
Yeah. No, I needed the structure. I needed to know like how, and then like goals to work toward. Like, okay, now we've made it. We're 3 hours between feedings.
I had
okay,
no goals.
Now we're 3.5 hours.
No goals.
I read all the things.
I read one book, Moms. I read one book
What
before I had a baby. It's called First Time Mom.
Okay.
And we'll put it in the show notes. It was the best book I'd ever read because I remember before I had Jake, it said, if after a week you want to take him back to the hospital and give him back, that's normal.
Thank God for that person.
And I was like, okay,
yeah,
yes, this is great. And I gave it to all my friends that were having babies. Obviously not you, but...
Ma'am, I was reading Baby Wise. I was reading What to Expect When You're Expecting. I had a bunch of good books. Those are the only 2 that are coming to my mind right now. But yeah. So for me, there was so many positives but there are for sure dark sides to scheduling because it makes you rigid and kind of controlling. And so if people want to help with the baby, they need to help in the way you want them to help.
Yeah.
And a lot of seasoned mamas and grandmamas are not on board with that. They're more like, well, but he seems hungry. I'm like, no, he is not hungry. I just fed that child. Leave him alone.
Listen, Grandma Judy just wanted socks on him at all times.
Yeah.
Socks at all times. Never take the socks off. They had socks on them in the hospital. In the hospital, we put socks on them.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is it? That's a funny thing about grandmas and
They
socks.
love socks.
Yeah.
They love it. And moms hate socks because they fall off and we lose them in grocery stores. And so we don't want socks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're a pain. All right, moms, that was part 1 of our discussion on pregnancy and newborns. We hoped you enjoyed hearing our birth stories, or at least mine, since Rebecca didn't remember anything about hers. Join us next time as we get more into this topic and get very practical about the newborn season.